Good morning and sliding into afternoon. Judy Allen here in San Antonio, and yes, I am back home now after a wonderful anniversary week and celebrating my mother-in-law's 90th birthday. Tons of fun, family, friends, so there you go. Makes for a wonderful 9 days. Whoop whoop. And 14 hours of traveling to get home yesterday. So we are ready to make some cards, and I wanted to show you with Fresh as a Daisy. It's got the beginning sheet of the packets. It's one I want to show you some tips and tricks on cutting it. They'll make it easier, but it's also easy to make some simple cards and step it up, right? So let's go down the hands and let's get going, right? I sort of missed doing this being out of town, now the country. But look here, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to actually have my cutting board out today. This is the Cheerful Daisies, and this is Fresh as a Daisy paper. And I'm just going to show you how this is easy. Sometimes when we look at it, it seems like overwhelming when we see stuff like this. But really and truly, oops, I just dropped the stuff. It's really and truly much easier than you think. There we go. I was just getting the cutting board there, and I sort of dropped that. So what we're going to do here, when I deal with paper like this, oh yes, be sure if you're out there to make comments and all, so we can put you in drawings for door prizes. I look for where a straight line would be, okay, because this is really busy. So when you see this, we see a straight line right here, and everything else doesn't look like it can just go straight up and down or straight across. So that's where I start. I always start wherever I see my first straight line. So generally speaking, everything usually goes in quarters for the most part. So if I look at this here and I want to make sure I line it up, I have two choices. There's a little line right here that you can see that if you had your cutting tool out here, there's a little line and put a fingernail there. That's one way to cut it, right? No. The other way is I just line it up. So most things are done in quarters. So this closest to this is 4 inches. So I'm just going to do it at 4 inches. And it looks like it might be just a smidgen off. And that's how I just do it. I just adjust it. If I need to adjust it just a smidgen, I just adjust it a smidgen. All right, we're just going to cut it. And I've used, like I said, up here. Let's see if you can see this. I had to move down just a bit there. So if you flip this up, it's right there on the 4-inch mark. And so when I go and take this off, see here, we got a nice clean cut. And then from there, I just go and cut, same thing, the straight lines here, and then I have 3 pieces. But let's go ahead. We did that first strip, so then you start looking at what's left. It's sort of like a puzzle, right? So here's my next straight line. So I'm just going to keep on going on straight lines. So let's see if we can get an even measurement for us. This one here that'll work just the same way as you did this one. I'm just ballparking it, but it looks like it is 3 3/4. So let's see how that does for us. And the thing is if it's off a little bit, this will be a smidgen that you'll trim off. It looks fine. All right, so here is 2 more pieces that we can cut right here. And then we just keep on rotating the paper again. So we're now to this size here. So again, it's looking for a straight line. I'm just looking for a straight line, then just do 1 cut. So you can see that would be right here. So I'm just looking for straight lines. Let's see if I can measure this one out for you again too. So I'm just looking for straight lines I can just cut on. So this one looks like it's just right at 4 inches. So I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm just going to come down here, cut. And now I have this piece here, which I can cut on this straight line and have 2 more pieces. And then on this one, I'll actually can cut here, and I actually have 3 pieces, right? If I wanted to cut this, I could cut this straight down here, and then I would come here. So I always look for cutting lines that I can cut straight down all the way. Because otherwise, if I cut this way, I'd have to come up and then come down, right? So it's just easier finding a straight line where you can cut straight down. We'll just do this one so I can show you. It just makes it easier that way, in my opinion. And so that's just tip and tricks of how I use when I get paper like this, that you can make a card of every design, right? So then you end up with this, just like I was saying. And again, here's my straight line. So then I'm just going to take my straight line there. And I will show it. So what I'm doing is looking for straight lines, right? That can just make 1 straight cut across the paper. And it's done. And see, that was the last of my straight lines. So I just worked my way down, right? So if you wanted to see that again, we put it all together. It might not be in exact order as it was before, but this is our first cut. This is our next cut. I'm not going to be able to get these all in the same because they were like something like this, right? But you can see how I've gone and made the different cuts from the paper that it was originally. And they can still got cuts to be made, right? But you can see the straight lines. But I wanted to just show you and focus on just the straight lines for you as you make that cut. Alright, so let's make those cards. Because this is easy. Make easy, quick cards when you do something like this. Because you got the back side too, right? But I'm not using the back side today. Today I'm just using the front side. So here's one of the first ones that I cut. And if you want to see what it looks like, here is what it looked like after I made the one cut, and then I just trimmed off the blue, right? So this is just going to be a simple, easy card. We're just going to put this down with adhesive. So yes, I went to Victoria, Canada, British Columbia, did a lot of walking. Because up there, you just can walk everywhere. Because we were down there by the harbor area. See if I can talk right. And I'm just going to tilt this a little sideways just because I can, right? Lots of times things I just do it because I can. Just get a little bit different look. Make those daisies really pop. We went to the Bouchard. See if I can talk today. No, I can't breathe. Bouchard Gardens, right? You know, there's beautiful flowers everywhere. I posted some if you hadn't seen them. There's more flowers I'll show you later. But I just want to show you, especially the daisies. You know, we think of daisies as a certain color depending on where we live. And we have a tendency to see the white ones more than anything because we actually have some white ones that grow quite naturally here. So I'm just stamping this. I'm just using this one is early espresso color that I'm using because I thought it would stand out okay with this. And then all I'm going to do, we're going to trim it, right? I'm going to trim it with my scissors. So yeah, you have to bear with me. I have been out of the country. It was our anniversary week, so we spent a lot of time together, my husband and I, walking and just enjoying ourselves and relaxing, just having a nice vacation. Just the two of us for our anniversary week, and then going to the birthday stuff, right? Because we had a couple of dinners we did with family and friends for the birthday celebration. We'll cut that just a little bit longer. And we did sightseeing too, right? Because there's always if you're like us here in San Antonio, it's hot, it's triple digit weather, and up there, you know, you're in the 70s. And also, we did some walking. So all I did is stamped it. I trimmed it with my scissors. I'm gonna put this block out of the way because we'll use it in just a minute. I gotta clean it because I'll use it again. And I'm gonna use an early espresso. So it's just, you know, it's just a lot of things. And then, you know, we go to like the Bouchard Gardens up there. So they have all kinds of colors of flowers, right? And like I said, I posted some, and we'll see about making some of those. You know, I get inspired by nature and the things around me. I don't know about you. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make this just a little bit lower, okay? So I'm just going to trim this off just a little bit. I hadn't decided if I'm going to do it like this or I can trim it off a little bit more. I'm going to trim it off a little bit more because I have it sticking out like that. So let me go ahead and just do that. So I'm just using it as an accent, right? I'm not trying to do anything fancy here. I'm just trying to make a simple card. So we're just going to put some adhesive on it. So, you know, nature is funny. You know, there's so many pretty colors in nature, right? So it's not like I have to go and invent the wheel or anything like that because nature's really like done a lot of it for us. All you gotta just look around and see. If it's not the peacocks that we saw up there in Beacon Hill Park, which there's like a flock of them up there, we saw otters, saw whales, we saw the orcas, we saw the humpback. So I mean, it's just they just provide different colors, right? The seagulls. I took a picture of the seagulls because they provide colors too, besides other things, right? So I'm just going to put this right here. You made my day. I'm just making this as a simple card just to show you how you can just simply do it. We didn't use a lot of ribbon or anything. We just used some cardstock here to make our tag, and then we just left over to make the tag as well too. And then all I'm going to do is sit up here and add some bling here. This is see if I can get this off. Like I said, I haven't been doing anything for 9 days, right? For 9 days, I vacationed, took a break from everything. This is the 2023-2025 in color dots, and I'm just going to spread them around, right? Just give a little sparkle, not a whole lot. You could do that with Wink Castella too. If I did that, you know what I'd do? So I'm saying that to you, out there, is I would sit there and put that right in the center of that there. And let's see how that looks. And let's see if I can get that off of my fingernail, one or the other. So yeah, so vacation is what? All about eating, walking around, seeing what you can get into, which there was enough of that to do already, because we walked mostly everywhere, most days. And I got sunshine, my vitamin D, right? Here, I just want to get there. I'm just going to put this in a little here, but you don't really have to, right? It's just, you know, when we saw the flowers, the Butchart Gardens, you know, they were actually, you know, they get so much moisture up there compared to us, 70-degree weather. You're right there at the harbor area where we were at, but Butchart Gardens a little bit further away, but still there's some moisture, right? And they're busy sprinkling water. So everything's just sort of got a little sparkle from the freshness and the dew and so forth. Well, there is card number 1, right? It's just nice and easy. And we just put a little Wink Castella on that. And we just did this with cardstock, all right? So let's do card number 2. Card number 2 is we're going to take the paper I just showed you. Now I'm going to use this color here is copper clay. And what we did with this one to create this one is I just literally from the stuff we cut off at the beginning, we had this piece here, right? So I cut it here and I cut it here. Now, this when you cut this piece off here, this is a 4x4. So in order to sit there and make it a little bit longer and have the look I wanted, I just cut this because this was a 3x4. So I cut it down 1.5 inches. So what we're going to do is we're going to adhere it just like this, right? So this is nothing more. This is beautiful paper too. We'll do something with that later on. Do it throughout the month. We're just going to focus on fresh as a daisy throughout the month of July because there's just so much you can do with all the different things, right? With all the paper, dyes, etc., etc. So I'm just going to put this right here, okay? And then I'm going to take this piece I cut and we're just going to overlap it a little bit there. And then we're going to trim it out again with cardstock and some bling. That's what we're going to do. And we're just going to cross over like this. And we're just going to leave it where it looks just like up at the top, where it looks like we left about half of a quarter of an inch would be about an eighth, right? But that's about a quarter of an inch. So there we go. And then all I'm going to do, so we have choices here, right? Now I have this here, but I wasn't going to use that because I already used it, so I'm going to set that aside. But what I was going to use is this one here. Will make a nice background. Again, for the stamp, I'm going to use the same stamp I used a minute ago. We'll see how we like it. This was just leftover piece from some of the DSP paper, right? It's a scrap that is a 1/2 inch. It's easy to come with 1/2 inch scraps. So I'm going to stamp this with copper clay. And then we'll have it, right? There's so many people that made my day. Now, it's you, but I have people that make my day, right? Whether it's somebody you met on vacation, whether it's somebody that's every day in your life, or you get to see them occasionally, you know, they all touch our lives, right? So this one, again, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to just trim this off at the end. Just makes a nice, easy tag. Just using your leftover scraps, right? I'm just using leftover scraps. And again, I have choices. I can either come across like this and put this on here. Or I had just really planned on doing like I just did just a minute ago. I was just going to make it just like this here, just to show you how easy it is to make it. Now I'm going to make it maybe a little bit longer, because I can, right? The other one I trimmed off, but it's just that easy, right? I'm just using scraps. So that's why I always tell people, save your scraps, right? You can use them for something. Because paper like this, we can easily make it look like ribbon, when it's not really ribbon, right? So, if you've ever been to a tourist town that you can walk around in everywhere, there's always things to see and do. So, we saw deer, which we posted those, and we also saw those seagulls. Those seagulls, they were in this, I guess it was a condo place. Yeah, I think it was condos. And they were just, at a certain time of the day, it's like they all came in, hung out, at the water fountain as if it was their personal bathing pool or whatever, or hangout area, right? I am going to put this one up on dimensionals because I can, right? I'll just use some lower dimensionals and then we'll put some bling on here and we're done. That is just how easy it is to use paper that has, like this particular case, we have some squares, we have some rectangle designs as, well, mainly that's what it is, right? It's all squares and rectangle design paper. And we just sliced and diced it on straight lines so that we could easily make cards. So on this one, right, we, instead of like the other one, this one's got a little bit more layers. And we're going to use some dimensionals. And then we're going to put this bling on here. So we have choices between the pink. I'm going to use the pink. I could use the copper, but I'm going to use the pink. Alright, let me get my, this might be easier. So, you know, it's those, I don't know, the deer are interesting. I don't know exactly where they came out, right? It was one of those things that 1 minute you're like walking or going to where you're going, and the deer started coming out, it looked like between the buildings. But I know there's a harbor there, so I'm not sure how they were getting up there. We'd seen them on the island and other places, right? There's Beacon Hill Park, which I'm sure that's where they live. See, just nice and simple. And we just added this here and just added some bling. Alright, let's go to the third card. I'm looking for my first card. Okay, so the third card, I'm going to step it up just a little bit more, right? Because that's what it's all about, keeping it simple or stepping it up. And I'll find my first card here in a minute to show it when we do all three. So this one here, again, we just added a little bit more, right? That's what it's all about. Now this one, I'm going to add some wavy trim. So let's get this out so you can see. And you can see where we started from. So again, I started from, let's find the piece here that I started from. Okay, so this was the, when we cut on the straight line, so we can talk, this is what we had, right? So we just cut this off. So I used one of the sides later on. And then I just trimmed it, all right? Because this really came out to this size here. This came out to a, actually this was 4 inches by 5 1/4. So this was 4 inches by 5 1/4. And in order for me to really make that pop, like I'm going to do here, I just had to take 1/8 of an inch off. I don't mind if they're both the same length here. I think that's fine, but I just really wanted it to pop. Because I could have put it on blue, like this, and then on white, which would look nice too. But I wanted to really make the flowers pop, so I wanted to go ahead and do it like this. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on, the white on, and we're going to put this on. We're going to wrap ribbon. Let's see where I did that ribbon. So it's going to go just like this. Let me go ahead and do this so we can put the ribbon on, okay? I changed my mind. I was going to put it down, but I'll just go do it like this. So this, again, it's just very easy, right? All we did was cut on straight lines to get to the DSP that we're using. In this particular case, I'm not layering any kind of DSP or anything. I'm just layering it on white cardstock. And I've got the length going just exact same length, right? Because I just want the white to make it pop a little bit. I like all the flowers. I had to trim off 1/8 of an inch. I trimmed it off the bottom, right? So this looks like it hangs over just a smidgen. And that's fine. Just come take your scissors. And if it bothers you, just trim it off. I'll just trim it off for you. Normally I would just go ahead and do it. But I just want to show you that's all you got to do. Don't sweat the small stuff. If it bothers you, then just trim it off. I don't know that anybody would have noticed it except me and you. Or you and I would be the correct way to say that. And it just trims out like that, right? And so then I'm just going to turn around and put it right on here after I get this on here. So I wanted to put this on here. So if you're out there, you can give me your opinion. We're going to put some trim on. This is wavy trim. It's just a natural looking trim. I think it looks good just like that. But I thought it might even look nicer if I put it across here. So what do you think? What do you think? I could go either way. I could go either way. So if I put this down right here, I'm going to have to use glue or some, right, to get that to stay down. If I do this here, I can use glue dots. So let me just go ahead and do this one this way. I'm going to put a glue dot on the back. I'll get 2 of them here, 1 on each end. And all I'm going to do is flip it over, right? Because we already know it's going to go over here. And I already know about where I want it, so I'm just going to put this right here. And then we'll put a tag over it, right? That's a nice thing about ribbon. We'll just put a tag over it with some dimensionals. And then I am going to come flip this back over here like this here so I can see it a little bit better. And get it even. Okay, again, I'm just going to put this down right here. So yeah, so when we went up to Victoria, we just enjoyed some nice cooler weather. You know, we heard that the heat index got in some areas around here up to 127 degrees with the heat index. Definitely, we were not experiencing that up there. So then now all I'm going to do is I'm just going to put this down with some adhesive. But if you ever get a chance to go up in that part of the world, man, they get rain, right? And they get cooler weather, and the flowers and everything just love it. It's lush, and there are just so many flowers. We took pictures. I'll share some more later. But it's like, oh my gosh. We're like, you know, most probably wouldn't grow here, right? Because we're so hot. Or if you could grow them, because you know, I do know from living in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, you can't take all plants from that part of the world and just move it to where you live and it'll just grow, because some of them require the cold, right? I'm not sure in this particular case. So I did. I went ahead and did it with the white to make it really pop up here. And I'm going to stamp this in boho blue, which is the color of cardstock we have here. I could have easily done the clay as well. We'll stamp it here. If I don't like it, I want to change my mind, I can. So this one, actually wants to put some bling on here. Your friendship means everything. Now let me show you just if we change colors, right? It's always about choices for me. I'm sure just for you, or maybe you just like to follow. So let me just show you what if I did the other side in copper clay, which is like pretty much a dominant color there that's in the background, and just show you the difference, right? Because I always like choices. I don't know about you, but I always like choices. So just so that you can see what it looks like. That out of the way, get the boho blue out of the way before I dip my hand in there. I do have a knack for doing that. Okay, so we could easily do it this way, which I think that looks nice as well. Or we could do it in the boho blue. I'm going to go ahead and do the boho blue, but I just want to show you, you could just as easily do it in this color, or you do it in this color, right? Because all you're doing is you're picking up the colors that you have, or you could just done it in basic black. So I'm going to go ahead and put this up on dimensionals. I'm just going to use regular dimensionals, and it'll cause this to be above. Let me make sure I got this right one. Okay, so if you do it at the bottom like I just did, it's really gonna get into the ribbon there that I put, the wavy trim. So we're just going to go ahead and put it at the top here. You'll hold it down, but I just want to make sure it is above the trim there, right? Okay. So I'm just going to put on here with the trim. We'll put some bling on, and then we'll have our items, right? So if you're busy traveling and doing things or sightseeing or whatever, let us know. I'd be very interested. I know one of you are out on a, wow, one of you looks like you are in Dominican Republic, but I'm not sure. And someone else is like on a cruise, an Alaskan cruise. So everybody's busy vacationing, which is pretty cool. So I'm going to go ahead and put, you know what, let's see what we think here. I'm not sure I'm going to like this, but I might, you know. Let's see if we put this here. Alright, we'll accent it with the brown here. This is actually copper clay, just the color I was just showing you. Right, because I can. Just gonna put one, let's switch it right here. And then we'll get another one in here. Now I'm just using the middle size ones because I thought they would just show up really good. And I was just debating if I want to put it here or here. Just put it right there. Just get some little extra color there. And then we got one right there. And looky there. So that's our stuffed up card here. We've just added some ribbon, we added some layers. But it was all started with just cutting one 12 by 12 sheet of designs that are rectangles or squares. So here's the 3 cards we cut, and see, it wasn't that hard. This is just strictly the rectangle that we used here. This is a square that we used that once we cut up the paper, and we just cut this particular piece in half to get this here. And this one here again is we just took the rectangle that was in the design paper, and then we set up there and we took off just 1/8 of an inch so we could have the white as a background and the blue right here. So just very easily stepped up cards, just working the paper the way it is. So yes, I see. Hello, Linda. Whoop, whoop. It is so. I'll be glad when you get back in town and we can see each other. So I hope you enjoyed this, right? It's very simple. The paper is beautiful. All you have to do is follow the lines to make the cuts to get the paper that you're going to use. Beautiful paper. We'll be working fresh as a daisy this whole month just to show you different things, because there's plenty of beautiful paper and beautiful things you can do with it. So it's all about creating, sharing, and giving, right? So go out there and create, share, and give to someone. With that, don't forget that we're also on YouTube, where the video will be later, and the cards will also be posted on Instagram. We would love for you to follow us and share. And with that, be blessed, and look forward to seeing you next week on Keep It Simple or Step It Up. Bye.